It was supposed to be just another day on the job, but one officer's careless words were about to spark a moment he'd never forget. A white police officer casually throws an insult, calling a black man a monkey, completely unaware that the man standing before him is actually the city's newly appointed chief of police. The air grows tense as the officer continues, oblivious to the weight of his words and who he's speaking to. Bystanders pause, sensing something big is about to unfold. How will the new chief respond? Will this officer face the consequences of his actions, or will this moment lead to something even more unexpected? Stay tuned to find out how this shocking encounter turns the tables in a way no one saw coming. The officer, still unaware of the man's true identity, smirks and adjusts his badge, feeling in control. He had seen the man walking confidently through the precinct parking lot and immediately made assumptions based on appearance alone. What he didn't know was that this wasn't just any man. This was Marcus Reed, a highly respected law enforcement veteran, recently sworn in as the city's first black chief of police. Marcus had dedicated over 2 decades to building trust between communities and law enforcement, yet here he was, facing the very bias he had worked so hard to change. The officer's words hung in the air, drawing quiet glances from nearby staff who recognized Marcus, but were too stunned to speak. Marcus remained calm, his expression unreadable. He had a decision to make. Should he reveal himself now or wait and see just how deep this officer's prejudice ran? Marcus took a slow breath, his eyes locked on the officer who still hadn't realized the weight of his actions. The officer, Officer Daniels, crossed his arms, waiting for a reaction that never came. Nearby, a young black rookie officer named Jamal watched the scene unfold, shifting uncomfortably. He recognized Marcus instantly but hesitated to step in, torn between respecting the chain of command and fear of retaliation from senior officers like Daniels. Meanwhile, inside the station, whispers began to spread. A few officers peeked through the blinds, recognizing the new chief but choosing silence over confrontation. Some feared speaking up might cost them their jobs, while others quietly agreed with Daniels, exposing an undercurrent of bias within the department. Marcus sensed all of it, the silent tension, the uneasy glances. This wasn't just about one officer's words, it was about a broken system, and Marcus was about to decide how far he would go to fix it. Marcus slowly stepped closer, his presence commanding the space without a single word. Officer Daniels stiffened, but still didn't grasp who he was dealing with. The silence grew heavier, and even the background noise of the station seemed to fade. Jamal's eyes darted between Marcus and Daniels, his pulse quickening. He knew this moment could explode at any second. Daniels leaned in slightly, his tone sharp. "Did you hear me? You don't belong back here. This area's for officers only." His voice cut through the air, drawing more attention from those nearby. Marcus's calm expression didn't change, but his silence spoke louder than words. He glanced around, catching the eyes of officers who quickly looked away. The weight of unspoken truths pressed down on the room. Then, slowly, Marcus reached into his jacket pocket. Daniel's hand instinctively moved toward his holster. The room froze. Marcus slowly pulled out a sleek black leather badge holder, flipping it open to reveal his gold Chief of Police badge. The shiny emblem caught the light, reflecting into Daniels's narrowed eyes. The color drained from Daniels's face as he stared at the badge, realizing his mistake. But before he could stammer out an apology, Marcus spoke in a low, steady voice. "Is this officer's only enough for you?" Before Daniels could respond, the station doors burst open. A group of internal affairs officers strode in, led by Captain Harris, holding a thick file. Harris's face was grim as he scanned the room. "Chief Reed," Harris said loudly, "we need to speak with you immediately. It's urgent." Daniels blinked in confusion, his embarrassment shifting to curiosity. Marcus didn't flinch. He turned slowly toward Harris. "What's going on?" Marcus asked, his voice cold. Harris hesitated. "It's about corruption in this department, and it involves more than just him." All eyes snapped to Daniels, but Harris didn't look at him. His stare was locked on someone else in the room. Marcus's eyes followed Captain Harris's cold stare across the room. Slowly, it settled not on Officer Daniels, but on Jamal. The rookie officer stiffened, his face tightening with shock. "Jamal Carter," Harris said firmly, "you're under investigation for leaking confidential information to known criminal organizations." The room erupted in gasps. Daniels' smug expression twisted into disbelief, momentarily forgetting his own situation. Jamal's hands trembled as he instinctively raised them. "No, this has to be a mistake," Jamal stammered, his voice cracking. Marcus's sharp gaze didn't waver. "Is this true, Officer Carter?" Jamal's breathing quickened. I was forced. They threatened my family. I didn't have a choice." Before Marcus could respond, Daniels suddenly lunged for Jamal, trying to appear heroic. But Marcus moved faster, grabbing Daniels' arm and forcing him back. "This ends now," Marcus said, his voice like steel. But just as Harris signaled for Jamal's arrest, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and froze. His face turned pale. "Chief, it's bigger than we thought," Harris muttered. "The leak didn't start with Jamal." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Then who?" Harris swallowed hard. "It's coming from someone in the command staff." Marcus's eyes darkened as Harris's words sank in. The real threat was closer than anyone realized. He scanned the room, suddenly aware that trust was fragile within these walls. Slowly, he turned back to Jamal, who stood frozen, fear gripping him. "You'll get your chance to explain," Marcus said calmly. "But this department will be cleaned from the top down." Daniels, still rattled, stood in stunned silence, his earlier arrogance shattered. Officers who once looked away now shifted uncomfortably, realizing that change was no longer a distant promise, it was happening now. Marcus straightened his badge and looked at Harris. "Start digging. No more secrets." As Jamal was led away and Daniels stood exposed, Marcus knew this was just the beginning. The corruption ran deep, but so did his resolve. This wasn't just about one man's bias or another's mistake. It was about rebuilding trust, no matter how long it took.